All right, Benedict, how did that taste?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We welcome you, everybody, to a Sunday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you on a Victory Sunday today, September the 14th. In the Monday, September 15th, Lions knock off the Chicago Bears 52-21. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. We're everywhere. But most importantly, thank you to our everyday listeners that are out there, our everydayers. That includes my guy, Davey Lou, Dave Llewellyn, former Channel 7 legend, hit me up recently. He said, you got to give me a shout out. I'm one of your everydayers. So Davey Lou, you are the man. Turner Batdorf as well in town for today's game. One of our everydayers. He was at the ball game as well. How about the Leos today? Ben Johnson. What happened to Ben Johnson? Oh, Lions, their offense is nothing without Ben Johnson. The Lions heard everything that was said this last week. Lions were horrible in week one. All right, they were bad. Other than a late Isaac Tesla garbage time touchdown, the offense did nothing. Today they put, yes, a 50 burger on Benny Boy and the Bears. Fourth down late in the game, starters in the game, up 45-21. Fourth down and goal from the 6-7. Easy to just take the points, get a Jake Bates field goal, and get everybody off the field. But no. No hesitation from Dan Campbell. No hesitation from Jared Goff. They go for the 50-piece. They get it. Goff hits St.Brown for the third touchdown of the day between those two. St.Brown jumps into the leap zone, and then he makes it easily. Goff's up there struggling to get up there, smashes into some little girl. But it was hilarious. The Lions had fun today, and they ran up the score, ran it up on their guy, Ben Johnson, who in the offseason made a lot of comments about a lot of things. Ben Johnson was so amped up for this game and so focused on this game. He blew off the halftime interview with Megan O'Leary, the Fox broadcaster, the sideline reporter. They come out of the third quarter. Megan O'Leary says, I tried to get Ben Johnson to talk on the way to the locker room. He ran right by me. But I did talk to Dan Campbell. Ben Johnson wanted this game so bad, but guess what? His team sucks. The Bears' offensive line is a joke. They're still a joke. They went on and got four new starters. They're all bad. The Lions attacked today. They ran the football. The offensive line won them this game. Special teams from the beginning of the game. First play of the game. The Santos kicks it off, and Jacob Sailors puts his foot out of bounds and fields the ball. That was a smart move. Put the Lions at the 40-yard line, kick out of bounds. Their kick coverage was better. Their punt coverage was better. The return game was better. Yes, Bates missed a field goal, but everything today was crisper and more sharp. And Dan Campbell said that after the game. We heard what everybody said about us last week. The train keeps rolling. They knew how badly they played, but they also heard some of the voices saying, I don't know if this team's going to be as good without their offensive coordinator. Heck, their defensive coordinator. I thought Calvin Shepard's defense was flying around the football today. 4 sacks on Caleb Williams. A huge pressure that led to a vintage Caleb interception. Lions got takeaways today. Lions didn't turn it over today. This is what I'm talking about. 52-21, the final. We will hit on the offensive line more, which I want to do. We'll hand out some game balls for you at the end of the day, at the end of the podcast as well. So excited to be with you today on Locked On Lions. This was a fun game. This was a game this team had to have with next week's daunting trip to Baltimore. Ravens destroyed the Browns today. And next week for Monday Night Football is not going to be an easy task. The Ravens have had the Lions number. We know that. You got the joint field goal that went through. You got the blowout a couple years ago. Remember this, though. The Lions have not lost back-to-back games since October of 2022. That's pretty good. That's real good. All right. Dan Campbell's teams bounce back. And today was so much fun to watch. It really was. And that third quarter where the Lions have been bad the last few years, third quarters have been an issue. Not today. Lions outscored the Bears 10-0 in the third. They smacked them in the mouth. Goff today had a near perfect passer rating, 156. He was 2.3 points shy of a perfect passer rating, which is 158.3. He goes 23 for 28, 334 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, wasn't sacked, wasn't picked, passer rating of 156. Jahmyr Gibbs near 100 yards on the ground. He had 94. 9-0. David Montgomery averaged 5 a pop, including a touchdown. Amon-Ra St.Brown, 100 yards receiving. J-Mo, 100 yards receiving. Tesla with the one-handed catch every week, baby. Every week. Tesla's got the one-handed grab. I can't believe it. I saw somebody today on Twitter say, who is this guy? What do you mean, who is this guy? Have you not been watching the last few weeks? Wake up there, pizza guy. Brock Wright, Brocktober early on. Touchdown catch. Everybody got into the act today. Again, 4 sacks on Caleb Williams, who did throw 2 touchdowns, both to Rome Odunze. Odunze is really good. Lions had their problems with him today. 7 catches for 128, and he sat on my fantasy bench. But I loved the way this team came out today and attacked early on. They were aggressive. They were into it. They were physical. Now, again, we're all going to sit here and go, and I'm going to sit here and say it right now. Where was this last week in Green Bay? The Packers were the aggressors in that game. First series, first drive, you just had a feeling. And I know for a lot of the guys last week, it's their first time back out there. Tate Ratledge had never played alongside Penei Sewell in a game before, or Graham Glasgow in a game before. Tyleik Williams, who had 2 huge bat downs of passes today. This was his second game now. His motor was running. He was more into it today than last week, which was kind of like, oh, shoot, my first real action here, right? And for the coordinators, for John Morton and for Calvin Shepard, they did a whale of a job today. Shepard was mixing up some of his looks defensively. They came after Caleb Williams. Brian Branch had a monster game today. And good news for those of you that didn't hear, Brian Branch said in the locker room after the game today was just a cramp. He kind of got leg whipped by his teammate, Jack Campbell. By the way, they both were in the game when it was 45-21. I'm like, get these guys out of the game, please. But Branch says it's just a cramp. He should be fine for Monday night in Baltimore. 52-21 Lions over the Bears to get to 1-1. Bears fall to 0-2. The Bears, they're a laughing stock. Look, I've tried to be nice. I've tried to say, hey, Chicago might have a better team this year. Hey, the Bears are building something here under Chef Poles. They still suck. How is Tyreek Stevenson still playing meaningful snaps for them after what he did last year in Washington with that Hail Mary? Remember that? The Lions picked on him all day today. They had back-to-back plays. They had the Tesla one-handed catch, which was awesome that they got Stevenson all turned around. And then on the touchdown pass, the very next play, they picked on Stevenson, and St. Brown got the touchdown. John Morton knew what to do. They knew who to pick on. Once Jalen Johnson was out of that game, and you hope he's okay, he's been injured the last couple of weeks, the Lions feasted on that Chicago secondary. All right, I want to talk about the offensive line a little bit. We'll get into the Bears some. There were some things that Chicago did today that I did not understand. Why did they draft Colston Lovett in the first round if he's not going to see the football? That was to the Lions' advantage. There were some play calls today from John Morton I loved as well. Game balls to hand out. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions for this Sunday edition is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. Oh my goodness, we love PrizePicks. We're so glad they are back with us. The daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. All right, it is simple. If you've been using PrizePicks lately, you know it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. If you had Jared Goff today with more than two passing touchdowns, you cashed in big. He had 5. There's Monday Night Football tomorrow night with 2 games. All of that for you on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, back at Locked On Lions Sunday edition right here as the Lions get the win today over the Chicago Bears 52-21. They've now beaten Chicago 6 of the last 7, 3 in a row at Ford Field. And today was an absolute ass kicking as Detroit got 5 touchdown passes from Jared Goff. I saw a stat from our crack research team, and now I've got to find said stat because, of course, my phone turned off as we were talking here, and I made a note to mention it. But Jared Goff today, I got to find the Jared Goff stat. Oh, it was here somewhere. Oh, man. Jared Goff today, you know, sometimes you mess these things up. And I had it, and I can't find it now. Okay, Jared Goff today. He's produced 2 career games with at least 300 passing yards, an 80% completion percentage, and a passer rating of 155. This ties to the most such games in NFL history. Jared Goff putting up numbers, and Dan Campbell said it after the game today. We've got ourselves a stud at quarterback, and he takes in a ton of information. He does. He does a lot for this team. And this is where I want to talk about the offensive line, because last week I was extremely critical of Graham Glasgow, and I was extremely critical of everybody on that offensive line. First and foremost, Taylor Decker did not practice all week due to an injured shoulder. There was talk he might not play. Gio Manu had taken all the first team reps at left tackle in practice. Awoshika had a few as well. Let me tell you something about Taylor Decker. That is one tough hombre. That's a guy that played today and you never heard his name called. When you don't hear an offensive lineman's name called, that's a good thing. Taylor Decker was solid as hell. Montez Sweat, some of the other Bears, didn't hear their names either. Jared Goff did a great job of escaping traffic today and shuffling in the pocket, but everybody on that offensive line, Decker, Mahogany, Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, and Penei Sewell deserve a tip of the cap. Those guys did a whale of a job today. They opened up holes in the running game. Running game got off to a good start first drive, then kind of simmered in the first half, the rest of the first half. Second half, they came out and pounded Chicago. And the Bears' defense is not bad. They got Edmonds back at linebacker today, who didn't play in week 1. They got Johnson back for a little while. They went out and bolstered their defensive line in free agency. And the Lions, I thought, it all started with the O-line. They were horrific last week. But this week, they established their will. They just were brutal in there. And I love that. That's what you want. That's what this team's about. It's about physicality. And we can sit here and talk about Goff all day, and I have. I mean, he was amazing, okay? But Jahmyr Gibbs averaged 8 yards a carry today. 12 carries, 94 yards. David Montgomery averaged 5 yards a carry today. All right, Amon-Ra St.Brown carried the ball a couple of times, right? That's how you win. Those two guys, Sonic and Knuckles, Thunder and Lightning, whatever you want to call them. That's the key to everything, man. You run the football, that sets up that play action passing game, and the Lions are tough to beat when it comes to that. But the offensive line deserves a ton of credit, and I thought John Morton called a really good game. Really good game. There was a third down. It was a third down late in the half, I believe, and the Lions needed to stop the clock and move the football. And they needed to get out of bounds. They're out of timeouts, and they ran a little bootleg with Goff, and he just dumped it off to Jahmyr Gibbs, got the first down on like 3rd and 2, and he went out of bounds. Little things like that. Smart football, getting out of bounds. Tesla getting out of bounds late in the half, which set up the touchdown. All of those things. The Lions managed the clock well. They blocked for Jared Goff. And look, they're still going to work out, excuse me, some kinks here. All right? They've only played 8 quarters. It's going to take some time to get used to everybody and everything. You lost Frank Ragnow, arguably the best center this organization's ever had. Right? Kevin Glover was a damn good one. And today at halftime, Robert Porcher went into the pride of the Lions. Shout out to Rob. We had him on the show last week. Congratulations to big number 91. Maybe one day Kevin Glover goes in. Maybe one day Frank Ragnow goes in. And you're replacing him with a 33-year-old veteran that hasn't started at center in years. So it's going to take some time. But I love the way they dominated the line of scrimmage. And they did so on the defensive side too. Pass rush early, non-existent. Terrible. Bears went down the field, made it 7-7, and it was like, oh, God, this is going to be a shootout. But then they got some pressure on the quarterback. Heck, shout him out. Marcus Davenport had a sack. Now, he got injured 3 times during the game. I don't mean to laugh, but my gosh, he's always hurt. He walked off with a leg injury. Later in the game, he had a shoulder injury. Then he was out for the rest of the game. Dan Kimball said they'll know more tomorrow on this Davenport shoulder injury. Aiden Hutchinson getting his first sack and getting a standing ovation in the fourth quarter was awesome. He worked hard today. And by the way, when you're coming back from a broken leg and you get cheap shotted and chop blocked by Darnell Wright, that was absolutely Bush League. That was horrible. Yet, Hutch stayed in the game. You saw his leg bend back. What a BS move by their right tackle, Darnell Wright. That Bears offensive line is hot garbage. They're trash. Shame on that Wright kid for doing that. You had help on the inside from Jonah Jackson, and you cut block a guy while he's being stood up by Jonah. Watch the replay of that. I was losing my voice watching the game today. That was absolute Bush League stuff from Wright that the Bears deserve to get it run up on today. Sorry. You talk your talk in the offseason, and everybody's yapping about Ben Johnson. Even Ben Johnson did a little yapping. Anybody see the post-game handshake between he and Dan Campbell, the quick handshake and hug? It was very brief. Very brief. I'm not saying there's bad blood. I don't think there is. I think they're still friends, but I think Ben Johnson came into this game at Ford Field. This was his Super Bowl. He wanted this one badly. I think he came in with a little bit of a Dark Knight aura about him, and he got his ass handed to him. Plain and simple. His team has a long way to go. That's a losing outfit. It just is. And they'll get better. They got some talent. Odunze's a stud. I like DeAndre Swift. They got some good players on defense. But jury's still out on Caleb. Boy, that interception. Kirby Joseph, what a play. What a play today. And like I said before, Bears are still the Bears. Colston Loveland, I really liked at Michigan. We all watched him play at U of M. He is a heck of a tight end. How do you not throw him the football? Ben Johnson knows what the Lions do well on defense. And Colston Loveland today had 1 target, no catches. That's your first round pick. 1 target, no catches. Luther Burden, who they took in the second round, 2 targets, 1 catch for 5 yards. Ouch. You imagine if that was us and the line, like that was like Jameson Williams and you took him in the first round and don't throw him the ball. And again, J-Mo didn't exactly get targeted a lot either, but heck, 4 targets, but 2 catches for 108, including that 64-yarder. And then the touchdown was pretty sweet. Everybody gets involved with the Lions. Everybody. That's what you love. Bears, though, still the Bears. They still make too many mistakes. They had 12 penalties the other day. I think they had 8 today. Lions played the cleaner game, won the giveaway takeaway battle, and what a great feeling now to head into Monday Night Football next week against Baltimore. The Ravens won today, so they're now 1-1. Baltimore should be 2-0. They choked away that first game against the Bills. And, they face Caleb Williams, who moves around a lot, but now it's the ultimate test having to go up against Lamar Jackson next week. And you knew the Ravens were going to blow off the Browns. That you knew was going to happen. But now the Lions get the Ravens in Baltimore next Monday night. All right, we got to hand out some game balls. We will do that coming up next, right here on the Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions for today is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all turn to some funny places for advice sometimes. You're a barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. But not everyone is the right one when it comes to real support. That's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find your right match, someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's challenges. All right? Maybe there was a time that, that you just said, we're going through some things on a personal level and needed someone to talk to, and maybe you were venting on a group chat or online somewhere. No, that's the thing. BetterHelp is so much better. It's flexible too. You can join sessions online from home or on the go, which makes therapy fit into your busy schedule. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Lions win the football game today. The home opener is in the books. Everett, what a crowd today, too, at Ford Field. 52-21. Beautiful day. I know the game was indoors, but for everybody that was downtown partying or just hanging out wherever they were, what a great day for football. What an awesome day for the Lions as they knock off the Bears today, 52-21. Shout out to my friends at Firebird Tavern. Folks, for home games, if you're not checking out Firebird before the games, they have great food, drink specials, all of that, great environment, and within walking distance of Ford Field. So we got to shout out our friends at Firebird Tavern. Thanks to our everydayers that watch or listen to the podcast daily. Kevin Ostriker from Locked On Ravens will join us Thursday this coming week for the crossover. Working on a couple of guests for this week, including on Tuesday. May check in with one of the Lions beat writers as well. But the Lions win today, 52-21 over the Bears. This was a pounding, especially in the second half. Lions led 28-14 at the break, but second half outscored the Bears 24-7 and got to empty the bench. We had a Kyle Allen sighting. Didn't throw a pass, but a Kyle Allen sighting today. Defensively, by the way, Jack Campbell led the Lions with 8 tackles, 4 of them solo. Brian Branch, a huge day. 6 solo tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs, a pass defended. He had a really good day, and he's our first game ball that we're going to hand out today, and that goes to Brian Branch. I know he got called for the roughing the passer late in the game, but man, is number 32 in the blue uniforms just a stud. He is a monster out there. And by the way, and I know my guy, the executive producer, I like to call him Nathan Litke, will point this out, along with his brother Brandon. Jonathan Vilma on the call today with Kenny Albert. First of all, that's like the G team. All right, we got like the AAA team today. Vilma kept calling Brian Branch Deion Branch. Now, I get it. There was a Deion Branch, 15 years ago that played wide receiver in the NFL for the Patriots? But like, bro, can you get the last year Vilma's called him Jamar Gibbs. Now Deion Branch, like called him that like 3 times. Like, come on, man. Seriously. Come on. He's a tough listen. He really is. Tough listen. At one point I synced the radio call for a little while. Dan, good job, Dan. I sometimes have the radio call going, but my God. Anyway, Brian Branch was a beast today. Made a lot of plays and was really, really good on that defense. He gets a game ball from me. I'm giving a game ball today to John Morton, Lions offensive coordinator. I thought he dialed up some really creative stuff. I love seeing the reverse. I love seeing St. Brown on the on 2 carries. All right. The offense was in a better rhythm today, under control. John Morton going up against Ben Johnson, his friend, his former cohort on the Lions staff, and to put up 52 points, he gets a game ball. Jared Goff, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, passer rating near perfect, of course, gets a game ball today. Amon-Ra St. Brown. What about this guy? All right. There's got to be some discussion. And I know Jamar Chase had a big day today for the Bengals, and they came back and won. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 3 receiver in this league. He is. Who's better? Just Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase? That might be about it. 9 catches, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did the fake hamstring injury, Sully, which really, really worried me for a second. But all he does is make plays. First drive of the game, Bears win the toss, elect to defer. Lions get the ball to start the game. First play from scrimmage. Needed a pick-me-up. Needed to get the fans to just calm down after last week. Who breaks free and is open for a 35-yard gain? St. Brown. He is the man. He's the man. He gets a game ball today. Has to. Just too good. And he's a special, special player. And you talk about pride of the Lions, Robert Porsche going in today. Amon-Ra St. Brown is he's going to break some Calvin Johnson records before it's said and done. He is just awesome. All right, so the Lions win. We can all breathe a sigh of relief after last week and just how angry we all were. And Jared Goff's going to be fine. This offense is going to be fine. Think about this. All the talk was losing Ben Johnson. He comes to town. They score 52 points. That never used to happen for this franchise. That was always against us, right? We were the team that got 50 hung on us. Now it's the Lions. We're back again tomorrow. We'll have the PFF grades for you and dissect more of this game tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions. Lions win 52-21. Have a good rest of your Sunday, everybody.